Firstly, I see magic wood. Remember, I say again, it's always important to look at the top, who we are busy with. That you don't start using information from other businesses if we are busy with this one. Okay, so now they want my direct material cost. So I said to you, go back to your grade 11 work. And in your grade 11 work, we did a direct material T account, where we show everything that makes my material more, ne? The credit side, everything that makes the material less. So if I had any returns, right? And then of course, the ones that I issue. And this is what we have to calculate. Your raw material cost is that which is issued to the factory. So now if we go look here, it all looks very democard. So what I would do, if I were you, is I would go and I draw a T for myself. Okay? Because they say calculate. Now let me tell you the secret about the word calculate. Calculate means you can use any method, but it doesn't have to be formal. So you can go draw a T. You can even show it on the wrong sides. Because it's a calculation, you don't have to write any details, right? It's just for you to calculate the amount. So now let's go look. I want an opening, I want a closing, and my work in process would be this one, and then whatever I buy or return. Easy as that. So now let's go look. They give me here raw material, and what do I see here? I see here, this method that they give reminds me of something else. Where do they always give me a block with an opening, a purchases, and a closing? With FIFO, weighted average, with my inventory. So immediately I know in my head, the closing stock, I'm going to have to calculate the value. They didn't give me the closing stock. So the closing stock is going to be one of my three methods. Okay, so now let's see. They say raw materials are valued at FIFO. All stock are stored in a storeroom before being sent to a factory for production. So what do we want? We want an opening balance, which they gave me, 608. And remember, the principal mark is always if you have at least one figure plus one calculation right. So if you say 608, which was straightforward, plus anything wrong, you already got that bagel as well. Okay, so now let's go look. Purchases, this is how much I bought. 74, why do they not have that? Yeah, there it is. 7467. So my purchases 746700. Okay. Now there were returns of 400 units at the unit cost of 420. So we need to calculate it. 400 times 420 gives me a total of what? Most probably that 168. You see? So I have returns 168. So already, without even doing something difficult, you already got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 6. You see that? Now, the problem with things being difficult is you go into such a spasm that your brain doesn't work. So you need to calm yourself down and go see, what is it? How would I normally do it? Because the secret with this type of questions where you have to work out stuff in weird ways is they actually use your basic method and they give you the answer to the basic method, and you have to calculate one of the units, or not units, one of the components. So let's see which ones can I fit in. So I've got all of that, right? Now I just need the closing balance. Now the closing balance is my FIFO. Okay, now let's go work. How do I do this? I'm going to do it on here somewhere. So that's 750. I need to give it a value. So I'm going to start with the latest one. Now can you see the latest one was 7,800. So can you see everything is valued at the 505? Can you see that? Nick, does it make sense to you? So at 505, and that gives me what? A closing balance of 37. And then you just balance it on the work in process. Can you see? That is our method. Because that's a T. And if you draw the T, I would assure you that less of you would be dear mekaar. If you see the T, does it make more sense to you? Okay. What they did here is they took the opening balance, then they took, let me just make sure, 8,000. They took the 8,400 less the 400 meters, and they said, okay, we used 8,000 at 420, and then they looked at the last one. From that 750 was not used, you see, and then they go calculate 7,800 less 750. That's how they get the 7,050, you see, times that unit price. So this one we did the T. With this one they literally go calculate the stuff that's not left anymore. Okay. I think this method is the easier one because it's the more familiar one for us. Does everybody show? Yes. Yeah. You guys, you do not have to work calculation answer. You use this as one big block. When we mark it, we literally go and look for your answer anywhere here in this block. Okay, it's not about now you have to transfer. It doesn't matter. Okay, it just makes the marking easier if you do it like that. But you'll definitely get your full marks. Okay, so now can you see with this one? If I look at B, they say calculate the factory overhead cost for the year by completing the table. So now if I go look at my info for factory overheads, they say the bookkeeper calculated it as this amount, but he forgot other adjustments. Okay, so can you see other pre-adjustment amounts? Okay, so now let's go look. 80% of the insurance is allocated to the factory and the rest to the office. The bookkeeper undercost the insurance amount by 2,550. So this is my insurance amount. Now, listen to me. Always adjustment before ratio. You're always going to do the adjustment, and once you got the full figure there, then you go put it into a ratio. Okay, so can you see here that this is the office insurance? This isn't the total insurance. So if I look at this office insurance, I need to first say, okay, this is 20% of the total. Does that make sense what I did? Because to get that one, I took the total insurance times 20, and that gave me 12,480. And 20% is most 20 over 100. So now I just flip it, because I want to get what the insurance was. Okay? So, what is the total insurance? 12,480 times 100 divided 20. Okay, I'm wondering with this, if it's the total, so in my head, I'm gonna add the 2550 to the total amount. Is it wrong? What did they do? I was wrong. Okay. You see, this isn't right. Okay. So what he literally did here is he didn't do that. He literally just said 2550 times 80% gives me 2040. So in other words, if I read this, you see that's the problem. Can you see on the proof of the problem? The problem is once everything is difficult, you're looking for difficult things the whole time. But if you read here, this is just amounts. But if I read here, they say 80% of the insurance is allocated to the factory. The bookkeeper undercast the insurance amount with 2550. So in other words, he did put in the insurance amount in the factory overheads, but only that 2550 still needs to be allocated. And that's why the 2550 times the 80% gives me the 2040. And that's why it's so good for you to be at school today, because the others didn't hear my mistake. Ne? Now they're going to not understand this thing. Yeah.
So you have to find, because the 255 was for the whole insurance.
Exactly. So you just need to get the 80%. Because the rest of the insurance was already allocated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Depreciation on equipment was calculated using the cost price method instead of the diminishing balance. Correct the error. So what you need to do is you need to work it back to the cost and then do the diminishing balance. Okay? So if I go look, they say my depreciation is 42,000. So I'm just going to take another paper. I don't put more space. That's why I don't play netball. No, because I cannot throw. I throw like a girl. Okay, here we go. Okay, nothing was bought, so it's just a straightforward one. They give me depreciation. Remember I said X times, what was the percentage? 15%, ne? Gave me the depreciation of 42,000. Now I want to get X, ne? Because I want to say X less the accumulated of 38 will give me the carry value, which I have to times with 15% so that I can get the depreciation that is correct. You see? So that's my purpose. So what am I going to do? How will I get X? I'm literally just going to say the opposite on the other side. Okay? So what is my cost?
$280,000.
So 280 less 38 gives me 42. Times 15% gives me
36300.
okay. Now I see I showed in my books 42, which is wrong. It should be 36, right? This is the right one. So can you see I overcost? So what's the difference between the two? And it's overcost, so it means I need to subtract. Because I added overcost, I do the opposite, so now I need to subtract. Can you let's see the memo? Can you see? Okay, next one. Magic manufacturers. Rent for 3 months, 1st May to 31st July, amounted to 168. We charge rent as a fixed rate, but they've been renting 160 square meters for the past 2 years. With effect from 1st August, they are going to increase the rental space with 40. So, and this was not recorded. Genade. Wow. So, is there still any doubt that if you struggled with maths in grade 9, you're going to struggle with accounting in grade 12? The kids now also, they don't want to believe you. Can I take this off? Okay, now, let's start thinking. Let's start thinking. I've been renting 3 months, so 3 months is 168,000, right? So, if I divide it by 3, I get what it is per month, which is how much?
56,000.
So 56,000 is for 160 square meters. Is that right? Am I still on the right track? So how much is it per square meter?
350.
And now I'm going to rent 200, because it's 40 more. So this gives me 7,000.
70,000.
Okay, so that's what I got, which they obviously didn't get. What did they do? They took the 168, they divided it by 3. Thank goodness we had something right. Then they times it with 200 over 160. Oh, it's only 9 months. So let's go 9 months. Oh no, times that with 9. Sorry. No, I'm wrong. Why am I wrong? They didn't have the rent for the full time at that price, So let's quickly go look. The 160 was for how many months? My year ends 30 April. Okay, so it started 1st May. Okay, that 3 months was May, June, July. Okay, that was the 168. So that's 3 months. So the remaining 9 months was the 20 meters. Is that right? After 200 square meters. So the 160 was for 3 months, and the 200 is for 9 months. So in other words, if I say 160 times 3 months times 350, and 200 9 months 350, then I ought to get the answer, isn't it?
$68,000.
Yeah, this is that 168. What is this one? This is the one we need to put in the box. 6?
30,000. 630,000.
Okay, and if I add those two, it gives me?
7,900,000.
Okay, that's what they got here. You see what he did is he only calculated the 630 and then he added the 168. I was stupid and I calculated the 168 again. So you only had to calculate that one, add the 168, and then you get the rent. Everybody happy? No, I don't know how happy I am. Okay, let's do the production cost statement. Okay, so the production cost statement, I want my direct material, which I already calculated there, né? So it's a principal mark. The direct labor they give me by saying unit cost is 710, and how do I get, come, you guys must help me, I haven't read through this. Times 6,420, the amount of tables? Yes. Okay, because what is unit cost? Unit cost is not how much we pay the people per day or the total salaries. Unit costs for labor is how much does it cost me per item in terms of labor. Okay, most of you got that right also. And then the factory overheads, you just had to transfer, and then you get a total. Now, if I look at this, let's just get a little bit of hope here, right? Okay, because this was really a difficult paper in the sense of how things was asked. But if you think, if you look, you're going to see there is marks that was easily obtained. Okay, so can you see that one, ne, was actually, not those, that ones, those ones, you could have gotten. That one was also an easy one. So actually you can get the full 6. Okay? This one was difficult. There was nothing easy in this one. Okay? So let's say you had everything wrong. Okay? So you have 0 out of 9. Okay. Now, can you see this one? Given, easy, easy, transfer, easy. There you can get 6. Can you see you could get 12 out of 21 there? No? And a lot of you guys just left it. A lot of people left this question. So let's go to 2.14. So now question next. They say calculate the selling and distribution costs. So what is the selling and distribution cost? So I know that the thing they want you to do is they want you to get confused with the selling price. Remember, selling and distribution cost is not your selling price. It's an expense. So remember, your fixed cost is direct material, direct labor, selling and distribution. Okay? So what do we have? We have our total variable cost. Ne? We have that. We set up the thingamajig, the production cost statement. So can you see I've got the direct labor, I've got the direct material, I've got the prime. So if I subtract that from my total variable cost, I will get the selling and distribution. Can you see this is actually an extremely simple question. So there's another 3 marks that you're supposed to get. You must not get that. Okay. So next one. Magic Wood donated window frames to a community school. The window frames were produced using offcuts that would otherwise have been wasted. Calculate the amount lost in terms of sales as a result of the wastage of the wood. So what he's actually saying in normal English is that wood that we used to make frames for the school, we could have used to make frames to sell. So what is the loss you made? Okay, now let's quickly look. I have no idea where to start. They want to know how many frames did I make. So let's quickly look. Variable cost. They say 2.5 meters of wood is used to make a door frame. Okay? So now let's go look how many door frames did we make to donate. We made window frames, not door frames. Okay, so now we want to go calculate how much didn't we use. So now let's see. How are we going to see it? If I have 6 for 20, né? And I'm supposed to use 2.5 meters, né? So how many meters did I use? I cannot hear you. Okay, so let's quickly see. So this is how much I used, right? I'm supposed to use. Now let's quickly go see how much did we use. So if I go look here at this thing, né? I had 1520. I bought 16.2. I returned 400. Ne? Oh, I don't even have to say that because they gave it to me. Can you see there? They gave me, I issued 16,570. Can you see what's happening here? This is what I'm supposed to use. This is what I did use. So can you see 520 was wasted? So now, that's not the question. What's the question? From that 520, né, I want to see, I would use 2.5 meters to make a door frame. How many doors were I able to make? 208. Wow, that's a lot. 208 doors. What's my profit on the doors? So can you see? They got here. Can you see? That 208 there. Where did they get the 780? So that would be my profit. Now remember what I taught you when we did the break-even point. Okay? What is your profit? It's your contribution after you've covered fixed costs. So now let's go look. What is my contribution? My selling price per unit, né, less my variable cost per unit. Né? So what's my selling price per unit? They say it's 2,980. My variable cost, they say it's 2,240. Does that give you the 780? Can't give me 740 because 740. Now how did he get 780? I don't know where he gets that 780 then.
Basically, they charge the selling price of the windows.
What windows? We're not selling windows.
The 780, that's the only place that actually pops up.
Okay, but show me where you see 780 on the... There, it's 2,980. That's what I use. I said the 2,980 less the 2,240 variable cost will give me the contribution, which is the profit per unit. Yes. So in other words, what we are saying is that your paper is different than mine. They tell you the selling price is 780. So they would have, if I read this question, they ask, calculate the amount lost in terms of sales. So it's not the profit. Okay, so that's 780. I do not know how they got it in that paper, but in this paper it was given. If they have asked how much is lost on profit, you would have done what I did. You would have taken the variable cost less the unit cost. Can you see how this 780 does not make sense at all? Because the variable cost is 224 already. Can you see that this is wrong? This paper is wrong. Can you see that? Because you can't ask 3 times less than what it costs you in variable costs to make it. Because remember, your profit is the selling price less the variable cost. So they're making a loss from the start. So it's a typing error. This is a typing error that was in here. Okay. So I think this other one was the correct one. Then it would have been 740 if it was the profit. If it was profit. And if it wasn't profit, you would have said there, like the one that I have, the 2980, not the 780. Okay, does that make sense to you? I hope. So, you guys must get a certificate for being able to keep up with your Democard teacher. Here we go. Next one. So the next one is question 2 still. I'm just going to do it on a new recording.